Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's been having a great day so far. Thank you so much for joining us today for this intro and overview session with Counterpart. My name is Kristen here at the marketing team with LocalEdge, joined today by my teammates, Jason, Josh. And today we're also joined by our four presenters from Counterpart, Brad, Brian, Jim, and Brian. During the presentation, we welcome everyone to ask questions in the comments or Q&A section anytime. We can review them during the presentation or towards the end. And then after this webinar session, you will receive an email from LocalEdge in a couple of days of this recording, so you can watch it anytime. Okay, well, I will pass it to our presenter, to Ryan first, and feel free to take it away.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Excited to chat with you guys today and give you guys an overview of Counterpart. My name is Ryan Capra. I'm work on our broker services here at Counterpart, and I have a team over here that will be presenting to you today and giving you an overview of Counterpart. Brad, Brian, Jim, you guys want to give a brief intro to you guys?
Sure, Brad. I am lead on the management liability underwriting here at Counterpart, and I've been here going on 5 years.
I'm Brian Basili. I'm one of the professional liability underwriters here at Counterpart. I've been here about 2 years.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Smith. I've been with Counterpart for a year based out of New York, and I oversee anything regarding digital distribution. So that relates to our portal, APIs, and potentially in the future. I'm really excited to be presenting to you today.
Awesome. Also want to encourage you guys to ask questions as we're going through this. As much as we are presenting, we do want this to be interactive, so feel free. I personally can't see the questions just because of the way that my setup is right now, but I know that this team can see them, so they will chime in. So don't be shy as we're going through this. And so we'll get started. So just a brief overview of Counterpart before we get into kind of our products and services. So Counterpart's been around about 5 years. Brad's been here the longest, as you heard. And we specialize in management and professional liability and for small businesses. And we are an MGA, so we write on Markel, Westfield, Aspen, and now State National paper. And the one thing that's unique about Counterpart, well, we are an insurtech. What does an insurtech mean? We also use this terminology of agentic insurance. Basically, we build a lot of our own technology in order for our underwriting team to be successful and really provide the best products and underwrite the best policies for you guys. And so we use a lot of data and a lot of tools that we've built in order for us to support you and the products that we have to offer. Like I mentioned, we do specialize in small businesses, so up to 500 employees, domestic operations, private and non-for-profit, and up to 350 million in revenue. I'll give you, before I hand it over to the experts to talk about the different products, I'll just note, management liability, so EPL, employee practice liability insurance, directors and officers, fiduciary and crime. For professional liability, which are our newer products, MPL, so miscellaneous professional liability with GL. And then we do have allied health. We're not going to get too much into that today, but if you are interested in that, we can certainly send additional information or have a follow-up conversation on that. So yeah. But I'm going to hand it over to, first we're going to start with management liability, and I'm going to hand it over to Brad to go over just these different products and then specifically our coverages. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks. Ryan, you driving?
Yep, I'm driving.
All right, let's go. What do we got here? Management liability products, employment practices policy, EPL, some of the call outs here, first party, third party. We usually include an additional defense limit up to $1 million, standard practice on EPL, mass class action coverage, wage and hour coverage too, up to 250,000, 150,000 in California, 250,000 outside. Immigration claim defense also about 250,000 as a supplement there. And what's the when to buy and what to buy is covered there. Who's covered? Executives, managers, employees, and consultants. We cover all that. We cover independent contractors in our base form as well, where we're seeing a lot of success in EPL coverage. Obviously, California is the biggest need for EPL coverage, but also different industries, auto dealers, real estate agents, and your typical mom and pop classes. If you guys have any questions on anything, just let me know. You can go, Ryan.
Okay.
Some claim examples we have: wrongful termination claims. Wrongful termination claim is probably the most prevalent EPL claim example, right? Somebody is terminated and files a wrongful termination suit, cover the legal defenses, the defense costs, and also the damages that would be assessed against them. The other big one that I mentioned earlier is wage and hour. We do provide wage and hour coverage. This is anything for failure to pay overtime, those type of lawsuits. We see frequently the defense cost only coverage in a wage and hour, depending on the jurisdiction. But what we usually see there is a time clock violation, a violation of a worker local delivery being out on the road and hours not being miscalculated. And again, we can pay up to $250,000 in those defense costs on those types of claims. D&O coverage. The most difficult one to ever explain is D&O coverage, right? So the directors, officers, and board of a company, it's coverage for their personal liability, first and foremost to being involved with the company, right? A personal asset protection. Our coverage is an ABC policy, meaning it covers the directors and officers individually and the entity. The board members are covered and the executives are covered and employees are also covered. What's covered? Breach of duty, right? So breach of the board's duty to the investors. But the most common claim we get on D&O is actually a competitor claim. And it's usually something near and dear to insurance when you poach an employee, right? So you hire an employee from a competing firm and they turn around and sue you for stealing of trade secrets, unfair competitive advantage. Those are the most prevalent D&O claims you see in the small business space. And that's why everyone needs the coverage, right? If your competitor can sue you, a lot of times I get the pushback on D&O that we're a small company, we're closely held, why do we need the coverage? Well, yeah, it's less risk, right? If you don't have smaller or a bunch of shareholders, but you're still, the most prevalent claim is from a competitor, and every industry has competitors. The most expensive claims are typically those kind of shareholder claims, right? So class action from minority shareholders of like a tech firm saying it was been mismanaged. You can see too the when to buy funding rounds is typically when we see those on a startup and requiring the coverage. There's also regulatory coverage based in the D&O form. So if you have any bodies, think of like a healthcare company, right, so that has regulatory exposures. Those regulatory exposures are covered under a D&O policy and can be quite expensive if the government is suing you for some sort of inaction. Here are the claim examples that I kind of gave while discussing the coverage, right? So customer disputes, regulatory proceedings, shareholder suits. Good examples there, but I can tell you the biggest claims I've had personally have all been competitor claims. I had one where two companies owned a joint patent and one company sold their portion of the joint patent and the other company said they didn't have the right to, and we paid out $1 million defense loss on that. I've also had, like I just said, I've had a competitor claim where somebody moved into a new state and poached an employee from a competitor. They alleged a violation of trade secrets, and we paid $1 million in defense for that. So those suits can be pretty prevalent and it can be quite costly. The frequency on a D&O is usually pretty low. It's not a high frequency type of situation, so the retentions are usually low, but it's a catastrophe policy. If you have something that's being defended, it's going to be quite costly. Crime coverage, what's covered on our policy for primarily first party employee theft, right? Some of the employees stealing inventory, money, whatever. Third party property, that's if one of your employees goes on site and steals money from a customer, usually, or steals inventory from a customer. Forgery coverage, forging of instruments, usually forged checks. That's something that I'd never really seen until the last 5 years, that it seemed to be had fallen off the radar, and then it picked up again when people were stealing checkbooks out of mail and forging them. Computer fraud, funds transfer fraud. Obviously, that crossover there with cyber coverage of stealing electronically, stealing money, and then social engineering, tricking somebody at a company to send money elsewhere. Crime coverage, the most prevalent crime loss is usually the social engineering coverage. What you want to make sure on your crime policies with social engineering is that there's no, I call weasel wording in there, saying that you have to have a callback provision to pay the claim. We have no such wording. Won't sell such wording. Basically, what that means is if you didn't call and double check that there was a callback, the carrier wouldn't pay out the coverage. Social engineering most prevalent. Second most is still employee theft. We recently paid out a large loss on an employee theft where somebody created a fictitious vendor, embezzled money, and then used that money to gamble on crypto. It did not end well. He was not a good gambler, and we paid out $1 million loss. So, I mean, he was due, I guess, but it didn't. It didn't work out that way. Yeah, crime coverage, right, is usually fairly cheap. Typically, if they have separation of banking controls and some callback controls in place, depending on the industry, shouldn't be too expensive of coverage. Again, claims are pretty infrequent there.
Brad, two questions. I don't know if you touched on it, but will we write third-party crime, and do we have to package? Would a broker have to package these coverages in order to write them in Counterpart?
Oh, good question. So no, we do everything modular. You can purchase them on online crime, and again, third-party crime. That's something that I get a lot, right? So for a third-party crime, typically it's needed for a contract, and people just need that for the contract, and we can absolutely do that. And it can go up to $5 million limits for those, and that's something that I'm guessing everyone there sees quite a bit of. We'd be more than happy to help out on those. I've had good experience on the third-party crimes. We also include ERISA coverage in this, so there's no need to buy a standalone separate ERISA bond. So we cover that as well. Our admitted form has these coverages. Our not admitted form has some extra coverages that mimic kind of like a Hiscox policy, which is best in class. Good question, Jim. Thanks. So just a claim example that I already gave, kind of, because I like to give claim examples when I talk.
It's appreciated, Brad.
Yeah, it's the most helpful thing, right? So yeah, exactly. I always forget we have a separate slide. I just keep talking. All right, next.
Any other questions on crime or D&O EPL?
I'm more than happy to take hypotheticals too. If anyone has hypotheticals, I know some people get nervous about it. I'm not. You can send me a hypothetical question, and I'll answer the best I can.
Ryan, just for the purpose of our audience, as a former broker, what kind of services do we typically provide to help the insured? I think one of the things that we like to touch on that we didn't get to yet was, we're all about protecting the insured, and so as many of the nationwide brokers probably see, or LocalEdge, I should say, new ventures, sole proprietors that may not have any type of attorney on staff or human resource services, what can we provide them as a caveat?
Jim, you're jumping the gun, but no, it's okay. Yeah, so we're very passionate about risk mitigation services. Actually, fun fact, our CEO that started Counterpart, he actually initially didn't want to start an insurance company. He wanted to start something kind of like an HR platform in a way to support small businesses. So he's super passionate about building out these services to really support the policyholder. And so we have we absolutely have like a risk assessment that can help you guys sell these policies and really identify, you know, the level of risk for a specific type of business. So you can request those, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. But also, we offer what's called Zero HR, which is a company that we started ourselves, where we have an attorney and also HR professionals on hand that a policyholder can reach out to. It's a complimentary service included with every EPL policy, and so they can reach out and you know, say, hey, I'm going to be letting an employee go, or, you know, I ran into this situation and I need to speak to someone to make sure that I handle this situation properly. They can reach out to Zero HR, which I can actually show you real quick. This is the website, which we'll send over marketing material afterwards, but this is actually built by Counterpart. And so, so these policyholders can reach out, talk to an attorney, talk to an HR expert. There's also a handbook builder, and also just a policy builder in there as well. As I mentioned before, we are a tech company, so we like to build out tools ourselves. But yeah, we're super passionate about providing resources to not only support in the, you know, in the you know, if there is a claim, but also to help prevent those claims as well. So yeah, good question, Jim.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Again, sorry I can't see if there's any questions in the queue, so if not,
No questions yet.
Okay, cool. We can jump back. I think the last ML product. Brad, if you want to jump in on this.
Yeah, fiduciary liability. So what is fiduciary liability coverage, right? It covers a plan administrator at a business or someone who's selecting coverages, or excuse me, selecting retirement plan or wellness plan at a business. So quirk of ERISA law, right, is that if you're making plan decisions, your personal assets are able to be sued for, right? So if you have a negligent act in your plan and you're administering the plan, even if you farmed it out to another third party, you're still on the hook for your personal assets are at stake, right? That's the need for fiduciary insurance. Fiduciary insurance is typically pretty cheap on a defined contribution 401k plan because most of that is farmed out, right? So it lessens your risk, but the exposure is still there. Usually these policies will also cover your EBL exposure, so employee benefits liability if you're E&O, if you're making a transaction error or some sort of administrative error. There is no need to buy a separate EBL policy in your GL because a fiduciary policy covers both the fiduciary liability and the EBL portion of it. Higher risk plans, right, would be a defined benefit plan. Administrators in that usually typically buy higher towers just because a defined benefit plan, as you can imagine, is tougher to manage. And an ESOP, right, an employee-owned company where the stockholders are the employees, it increases the risk significantly. That you have kind of unsophisticated shareholders of the company that can sue for basically any reason. If you want to go to the next slide, for the claim examples, because the fiduciary claim examples are pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, administrative error, the first one, that's your EBL type decision or ERISA violations. The biggest fiduciary claim examples I've had have been ESOPs. I had one ESOP where the company sold. They were bought out by another company, and some of the employees alleged that the D's and O's did it because they got sweetheart deals and buyouts, and then they weren't acting in the best decision of the ESOP, and they were sued for that. Paid several $100,000 in defense for that. I've also had some bizarre EBL type claims. Here's a good one. We had one where a person was an employee of the company and he passed away, and his wife sued saying that it wasn't adequately explained to him that he could purchase a life insurance policy through the company retirement plan or benefit plans. Because he spoke Spanish and they didn't have anybody that spoke Spanish and telling him this. So we ended up paying out the death benefit. I think it was like $100,000 after admitting, or insured admitted that they made an error. So those type of decisions too. And then the most common one, right, would be investment decisions, investing in, I don't know if anybody remembers this, I'm dating myself, but investing in like some sort of Ponzi scheme or something like that. So if you invest in a Ponzi scheme, even if you've made money on it and you're out of the deal, the government can claw back, and those clawbacks are covered under the fiduciary policy, meaning they'll come back and take the profit that you gained. We had a bunch of Bernie Madoff clawbacks back in the day on those too. Those are fiduciary claim examples.
Any questions? I mean, we can talk all day, so. Brad, I just have some specific appetite items.
So what's our appetite, right? I counted for $5 million D&O EPL fiduciary crime, and then we kind of list out some highlights there of coverage. Again, the additional defense limits, good selling point across the board. D&O EPL fiduciary crime includes that third party social engineering coverage and ERISA. EPL, again, the wage and hour we include. We have no hammer clause in our policies, and also on the fiduciary, we have $1 million of HIPAA coverage included, along with $500,000 in fines and penalties coverage. Again, that's market leading. Here's a win list that we've had. We write all over the map, right? So small little specialty trade contractors, we write healthcare business, I write ESOPs, we'll write nonprofits, we'll write realtor associations. We've seen a lot of those lately, got kicked to the E&S market because of all the antitrust claims that were happening on those from the commission scandal. Restaurants, wholesalers, auto dealers, real estate. We'll write just about anything and everything across the map. The only thing we don't really write is crypto and cannabis. Other than that, we are open for business.
Question for everyone on the line. What are you guys seeing? Is there anything specifically you're interested in or you see a lot of? Crickets. I'm just assuming everyone's typing. It's fine. You can take your time. We could talk about our non-for-profit ML. Anything specifically, Brad, you want to call out?
Same deal. $5 million limits on all. Can write modular, right? So no deals too big, no deals too small. We can write, $400 nonprofit D&O if you need a quick quote, a quick turnaround on them. I'll write those all day. Can usually pull most of the information online, so not a lot of underwriting info is needed on these. And we can consider some tougher stuff as well on these classes, namely, like I said, kind of trade associations and chambers of commerce, things like that, as well as your typical social service and healthcare and other charities and foundations.
Yeah.
Same thing with the win list. There are no real call outs, just kind of everything I already said.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, if no questions for Brad, we can jump over to professional liability, MPL. All right, cool. Brad, you got off easy. All right, Brian, you want to take us away?
Yeah, let it rip. All right, so miscellaneous professional liability. So for those of you unfamiliar with professional liability, almost everybody's heard of medical malpractice insurance. So very similar, right? Malpractice insurance, if somebody can make a mistake in the professional services they're providing that causes financial loss and get sued for it, this is what we're here for. In terms of coverages we offer, so as we can package with GL, which is something that we do in a lot of our classes. Our base policy form includes 1 mil of contingent bodily injury and property damage, which we supplement depending on the class via endorsement. But typically we're offering somewhere between 100K and $1 million. We can offer 250K of media. We can offer some pollution coverage as well, depending on the risks. So that's going to come in handy with home inspectors, right? So we write a lot of PLGL on home inspectors. A lot of policy forms exclude mold. Something where we can carve it back a little bit with offering some pollution coverage. Something that we are very happy to talk about, especially being an insurtech, is our artificial intelligence coverage. So on most of the quotes that we send out, we're including the limit of affirmative artificial intelligence coverage. So I'm sure everybody is using AI more and more frequently on a regular basis. And from what I've seen, pretty much every other policy form is silent on it. And from a lot of other underwriters I've spoken to at other companies, they would like exclude a similar claim. So if the insured is using artificial intelligence in conjunction with the professional services, this endorsement is saying that, hey, we got you covered. Ryan, you can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So yeah, claim examples, again, this is going to vary quite a bit depending on the class. So you have a couple examples here. They're listed. One of the ones that I love to talk about is, again, going back to home inspectors. We had, thankfully it wasn't ours, but it was policy that we wrote that I saw. Home inspector individual drank an entire bottle of wine, fell out a window, and the home inspector missed that the window was not up to code and it was a full limit loss. So even something like that, where you think like, oh, how could that possibly the home inspector get brought in? They can get dinged even for something like that. But typically you'll see a lot of, like, we write a lot of consultants, right? So management consultant, if they're providing advice to a client, the client loses a contract, stuff like that. We could talk all day because it depends. It depends very much based on the class, and with miscellaneous professional, right? There's gonna be several, a couple of different classes we write. Yes, again, MGL, we can go up to 5 mil limit. We're not offering a ton of 5 mil limits at the moment, and most of the stuff that we see, we don't doesn't even require. Occasionally we'll see it for a contract. GL, so with our GL, we can package it with the PL. They have to get the PL to write the GL. We don't write the GL standalone, but it's ISO based. It's not premises limited unless we do so via endorsement, but most of the classes that we're running GL on, we are not limiting premises. The other thing that I want to point out here, so I talked about the AI, I talked about the media. We can also include sub-tech E&O. So again, this is not standalone media, standalone tech. This is incidental exposure that is attached to the professional liability. So, typically something we'll see a lot of the media or the tech, like marketing consultants, and the various other consultants that we see. That's where we're tacking on the tech coverage as well as the media. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so here's the win list. So we write a lot of PLGL and pilot cars. Like I said, we brought the home inspectors before. M&A advising, can write financial consulting, fractional CFO. A couple other things that are not listed here that we write. So we write TPAs. We can do medical billing. We can do medical practice management. So that's like the back office services, administration. We write like freight forwarders, logistics risks. And like I said, ton of different consultants, and we're not afraid to write some of the weird stuff too. I mean, that's the nature of MPL, right? It's going to be the stuff that doesn't fall into a traditional bucket. So we see a ton of weird and unique, interesting risks. So don't be afraid to send over those weird ones as well.
Any questions for Brian?
No questions yet.
No. All right. Cool. We're cruising right through. Hopefully still interesting. Also wanted to talk about, so again, if you have questions on allied health, we can cover that in another session. And you can follow up with your broker. We can send over some some marketing material on that. I did also want to note that one of the new features that we've recently launched is allowed, while we are a wholesale only, while we are wholesale only, we do allow retailers to submit on behalf. And so if you wanted to, you could actually log into our portal and submit applications directly to Counterpart. And I'll tell you how you can do that shortly, but I'll go over some of the functionality. Again, we're an agentic insurance company or an insurtech company. So we build tons of tools, and so we want to make it really easy for you to be able to get a quote, have something to sell. And so we do offer instant quotes using our portal. We use a lot of AI tools, which I'll go over in a moment, where you can easily submit information and not have to type everything into the application, which is kind of neat. We do offer risk assessments, which we talked about before, along with Zero HR. And there's also claims tracking that you can access in the portal too. Sometimes I jump into the portal, but sometimes I like to share slides because I think sometimes they're a little bit easier to call out. But essentially, if you were to access the portal, you basically have a dashboard with all your applications, and you'd be able to manage them from there. Whenever something's updated, you'll get a notification. You can download our latest appetite here in the dashboard as well. It's located here on the left-hand side, but we have PDFs that go over our appetite, so it'll make it easier for you to know. We're constantly expanding our appetite, so I do recommend every so often downloading them if you do end up going into the portal. What I had alluded to before as far as smart applications, so we've built out a ton of new tools within our portal. It's a lot of stuff that we actually built for our underwriters, so for Brad and Brian, to really make it easy for us to take basically underwrite a business with maybe limited information. And so we built out tools where you can drag and drop a PDF application, loss runs, financial statements. If you're specific for like D&O, you can drag and drop those documents into our portal, and it'll basically extract the data from that document. And I'm talking about, like, even if it's a handwritten application, we can still extract the data from that application and pull it into our portal. And then it'll give you kind of like a red, yellow, green, basically indicating level of confidence. And if it's like yellow, you may just want to double check to make sure that the information is accurate, but we'll basically extract the data from there so you don't have to manually type everything in, which is kind of cool. I may have since we didn't have too many questions, I may have a moment to actually show you guys some of that. But yeah, we have that. We also have AI data predictors. So based on certain inputs that are entered into the application, we can actually predict. We can find the website. We can find or recommend the NICS code or industry based on the inputs that you've added or put into the application, which is kind of neat. And then, of course, instant quotes. So ways for you to, once you do submit, there's kind of two different ways, obviously. So for some risks, we will be able to provide an instant quote, where then you'd be able to access that quote, directly within the portal. You can download all the documents directly from the portal as well, make adjustments. You'll see different options for different quotes. But for those that are referred, so for some risks, we will refer that, and it actually goes to Brad's team, and he has a team of underwriters that actually review those. And the goal is to get a quote out within an hour. For most risks, we can do that. And so yeah, so if it is referred, you should still get a quote back if we can quote it within a very short period of time, which is cool. This is also where you can request a risk assessment. So we do have, it's like usually about like a 5-page document, which it will evaluate the business's risk, on different, basically looks at the industry and the state that they're in, and analyzes the risk associated with it, and it can help you sell certain types of coverage based on that. And you can request those risk assessments directly within the portal. You can, of course, ask your broker as well to request them, and they can grab it on your behalf as well. Questions? No, we have a few minutes left. Questions about products, services, portal. Jim, yes, looks like you have a question.
Yeah, I just want to pose a question to the group, and I appreciate everybody, attending. How many have actually seen or submitted a D or an ML policy this year? Right? And the reason why I ask that is coming from the broker side of the house. When I used to be a broker, I was very personal line centric, so home, auto, right all day long. Where it became really intimidating is if like a EPLI or a D&O policy opportunity came across my desk. Half time I didn't know where to go from a market perspective. The other part of it is very intimidating because the question set alone could be a deterrent. And I want to emphasize these things because it creates a lot of pain in the market, and you may see these risks. You may just kind of make it a point to just turn them down. A lot of what Ryan covered from a content perspective, as far as the tools, is really to make it as easy to quote professional lines as if you were quoting a homeowner's or an auto policy. So I like to kind of put that caveat in there. The other thing is, one of the things we pride ourselves on is that Brian and Brad will pick up the phone. So if it's something like if you have portal or tech fatigue and you don't want to go to a portal, you need something quick, you can always call or email us, and we'll be very responsive. So I always like to emphasize that because I think when you think about what Counterpart is trying to do and how we differentiate ourselves from some of our competitors that have been in the market maybe a little bit longer, is promoting speed to market. So you got to quote faster, therefore, increasing your chances to convert that opportunity, and service, how we service our accounts. So you have dedicated people that you can talk to. You're not always inundated with technology, and that's the only source of accessing our products. So we combine the best of both worlds. And then on the back end, how we support your clients. So if there's a claim, we handle our own in-house claims. We have a dedicated claims team to help expedite claims, get your business owners back to operating their business as quickly as possible. We pride ourselves on that. We actually score ourselves on how we do that. Ryan's kind of demoing through some of the application tools that we've built in for AI. So like rather than having to key in financials or having to key in loss runs, you can quickly drag and drop those items. So really just make it a very seamless process if you do want to engage with us on the portal. So I always like to point that out because, I was on that side of the house before, and some of the things that I hated the most was when, I didn't have a level of support or I didn't have an understanding of like what the company would write. And I'd spend all my time filling out an application only to get a declination. So really, we're here to support you. Hopefully, maybe that draws some questions, but just wanted to put that out there.
It's okay. Yeah, I was just demoing some tools here, and that I dragged and dropped an application. It'll pre-fill certain things. I'll show you what that application looked like if you're interested. But basically a handwritten application, and I dragged it in here, and ultimately you'll see different fields within the application highlighted in certain colors, and it'll indicate the level of confidence. You can also click Find Website, and it will look based on the business name. Look for that, and also other data points. And it will also look for different ways to categorize that business, to looking for the best NICS code for that little business descript, but uses AI to comb the internet. Make it easier for us to underwrite it, but also make it easier for you to submit so you don't have to actually enter all those data points. Kind of neat, but wanted to just kind of demo it for you. And again, if you do want access to the portal, I mean, you can email submissions to your LocalEdge broker. And then if you do want access to the portal directly to submit to us directly, you just have, still reach out to your LocalEdge broker just to request access, and then they will send your information our way, and then we'll add you to the portal so that way you can start logging in. Yeah. Cool.
And Ryan, is there a link for the type form that we can share with the group post webinar in the event that they are interested and they want to get credentialed that allows them to fill in the information we require?
For now, we're going to have them go directly to their LocalEdge broker, but we may create a form depending on the volume. Absolutely, yeah. Good. Cool. All right, that's all we have on our end. We'll send over, I know that there's a recording of this as well, so you can go back to it. But while you have Brad and Brian on, any questions, general product questions, specific to coverage questions? No? All right.
I don't see any questions in chat, and then Q&A. I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.